the start hours ago with the pick, Christian Miller. Obviously, his versatility, I think, lends well with what you guys want to do. But were you guys surprised he fell this far?
He was a guy that we've been talking about, as you know, for a while. I mean, it's just a little bit. He's an excellent football player. Had 8.5 sacks in around 400 snaps last year. I think, if he's been going through a hamstring, he went through a hamstring early in the off-season process, that might have contributed some to him being available to where we picked him. But we're really happy to get him. I mean, he's got length. He knows how to rush the passer. He can dip and bend. He just he makes plays. And as you can see by his stats last year, I mean, he's just he's a really good football player, and it'll help again. Rushing the passer, that was one of the things we wanted to do is address that, and I think we did that in this draft.
Go ahead.
Do you see him as being able to mix it up in a 3-4 and a 4-3, or do you want him to play specifically outside linebacker?
No, I see him doing both. I really do. I mean, that's the really neat thing about both Brian and Christian. You got guys that do have that versatility. They're going to line up on the outside. I think with their skill sets, you're talking about guys that can play either side. And contribute as far as the 40 front as well. So I think both those young guys can come in and compete and give us some more depth.
When we see their build and skill sets, Ron, and Marquise from last year, might you be leaning a little bit more towards the 3-man front than the 4?
Well, it just depends on situations. I mean, we went back and looked at, last year and we played our nickel package almost 70% of the time. So because of that, your base front's not going to be as much as you would think. So I think based on that, we've got to look at opportunities to change it up, mix it up, because again, we have some guys that have a skill set. So I'm pretty excited about being able to use these different types of football players.
Yeah, Ron, to that point, I mean, how much did you need those two guys, or to come out of here with guys like that to make these changes that you want to make?
Well, I feel good about the guys we had to begin with. I think these guys add to the mix. I think these guys can come in and become the kind of guys you're looking for. Most certainly, I wouldn't say like you needed to have them. I'd say these are guys that have a skill set that brings something to the party, and that's going to be the fun thing about it, watching what they do and the way they do it. They're both dynamic football players. I mean, Brian, for us to have Brian on this football team just adds to what we're going to do. Getting the added depth with a guy like Christian who got an opportunity to get in the rotation, that I think is really cool.
Marty, go ahead.
Good. I was just going to say, it just starts with basic philosophy of football. I mean, protecting the passer and running the passer, rushing the passer, it all starts with those two, and then you build everything else. But if you can't protect and you can't pressure, you're going to have a hard time on either side of the ball.
Marty, last year I think a lot of the external chatter was, why didn't they sign a running back to complement Christian? And then a couple weeks later, you all signed C.J. Anderson. This year, no safety, no free safety picked up. Do you anticipate analyzing the market, maybe making a move in that regard?
We're always going to look at every spot to see, and it's just some drafts, it's the way the drafts fall, and sometimes you go in, just like last year, if a running back had fallen to us, we would have taken one. And, this year, if it fell right and the safety was there, obviously we would have taken one, but it just didn't work out that way. So you're never going to, we don't play tomorrow, and you're never going to have all your needs filled. So you're always looking. And we have some guys on our football team that we think can compete and do a good job at safety. But we're always going to be looking at every spot, not just, safety this year or running back last year. And that's the key. You just every day you come in and try to use all avenues to try to improve your football team.
Marty, Jordan Scarlett, he was productive when he was on the field, but certain things off the field kept him away from the team. What did you learn about him during the pre-draft process that I guess made you confident in his maturation?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, he was very remorseful. He admitted he made a mistake when he was a freshman, and he was the one guy that stayed and worked his way back it to make up for it. And I think that that's really what impressed us the most. You talk to anybody down there, they love this kid, and he's one of the most well-liked players on that team. And he openly admitted that, listen, he was young, he made a mistake, but he worked hard to work his way back and to make up for that, and to go back and play there and stayed there last year. And I thought that was very impressive.
Marty, what would you consider strengths, weaknesses of this draft class, and things that you maybe wanted but didn't get?
Well, again, I mean, you look at it, we got two tackles and two pass rushers, so I think protecting the passer and rushing the passer. Obviously, Jordan mentioned there was not, we didn't draft a safety or really a secondary player, but we feel like we addressed a lot of needs and, feel good about the way things went.
Those two tackles are both left tackles in college. What do you see them here?
We'll see. You know, Coach Matsko. I mean, versatility is always a key. So everybody's gonna play more than one spot. But the fact that they are left tackles and played left tackle is certainly a plus.
Ron, I'd like to ask you specifically about Dennis. How much did you get to know him at all? We learned a lot about him on this phone call about his military school experience, and obviously we thought of you right away.
It's interesting because he seems like a young man that's on a growth pattern. I mean, he's learning, he's growing. It's not like he's played a tremendous amount of football, but he's played enough quality football that we're most certainly curious. I think he's a solid young man who's going to come in and fit very well. I think he's going to be really committed. I mean, he's shown that based on the way he's grown up. So it's going to be fun. It really is. I like where we are, and as Marty said, we got guys that have position flex, and as much as we want to see guys and see what else they can do, I'm interested in just watching and watch Dennis's growth. I really am. Coach Matsko was real excited about him, as was Travell. Travell for the South Carolina Ties, obviously, but they both spoke very highly of him, so I'm really excited about that.
And it sounded like you, from when we had Christian on the phone, he sounded like you two really had a chance to bond, and you guys didn't even really talk about football.
No, we didn't. We really didn't. I mean, I was, and your question earlier, I was really surprised he was there. I really was. I get it, the hamstrings, the hip tightness, stuff like that. People get concerned, but he only played a little over 400 snaps, and he had 8.5 sacks. We got guys that play 600 and 700 snaps, and weren't even close to 8. So I just feel like we got a good football player, a guy that's going to come in. He's very mature. He's a young pro. He understands already. He grew up with it, so he understands. That's what I'm excited about as well.
Marty, could you discuss what you liked in Scarlett's skill set and how he may be a decent complement to McCaffrey?
Yeah, first of all, I think the first thing you see, he breaks tackles. I mean, he breaks a lot of tackles, and he's got a burst, and once he gets out, he can go. But he's a very physical runner. He's got great vision, and it's hard to bring him down. He very, very seldom goes down with first contact. And I think that you're right. He does complement Christian well. So he's really, we were surprised he was there, to be honest with you, at that point.
I know you're not, you mentioned last night you're not a stats guy, and he didn't have a bunch of receptions. Was that a lack of opportunity?
It looked like lack of opportunity. When you watch him and watch what he does for him, as far as his inside running game, his ability to bounce the ball too, good vision. As Marty said, probably the thing that stuck out is, to me, he's a violent runner. He's got good balance. The first contact doesn't necessarily bring him down. It might knock him off balance, but he stays up and continues to run. He looked to be good as a blocker, a willing blocker, throws his body in the mix, seems to be always in good position, stuff like that. So you felt good about that. And, he had, I believe he had 10 catches this past season, and he made the most of them. I believe he averaged 9 yards a catch. So with the ball in his hands in space, it seems like he's tough to bring down. He didn't run particular routes. What you did see was you saw a couple screens, you saw a couple of the swing patterns. that are very traditional for running backs. What we asked Christian to do is a little bit different, obviously, with the route running and stuff like that. So I never really saw him have to run the types of complementary routes that Christian ran in terms of down the field and stuff like that. But with the ball in his hands in space, he's a load. He really is. And I agree with Marty's statement. I mean, this guy can be a good complement to Christian's style.
What is the team getting with the 7th-round pick in Terry Godwin?
You're getting a good route runner, good hands. I saw a little stat up that showed he's like 13th in all time in receiving yards or receptions or something like that for Georgia. So he's a guy that makes plays and makes things happen. He does have some return skills as well that we're going to take a look at. But he's a dynamic guy with the ball in his hands and can make people miss. And he's got some speed.
Marty, two things were interesting to me. We spoke with Greg in person today, Greg Little in person today. Two things really kind of stuck out to me, and one of them was that you specifically have not invested this high of a pick in a tackle since Jeff Oda. And the other thing was it seemed like you two really developed a relationship over the last month or 2 months or so. He said that you guys had lots of conversations about the criticism that he was getting and how, and it seemed like he really carried your comments to him about how you didn't believe that criticism with him through this process.
Right. I think the thing that impressed me was he wants to be really good. And he has got such a skill set, and I'm not sure he realizes how good he can be. I think he knows he is good. But I just think I think we hit it off. He's a great kid, and I think he has a lot of drive. And I just wanted him to understand that he's got all the tools to be one of the top left tackles in this league. If all he's got to do is just keep working and consistently finish plays. And he just listened to everything. He took it to heart, and he's come in here with a great attitude, and everybody that has met him just comes up and just say how impressed they are with him.
You said before the draft there were some guys out there in the 2nd, 3rd round you thought that could compete on the offensive line for starting spots. Was he a guy, one of those guys that you?
He was, he's been a guy that we've talked about a lot and had our eye on for some time.
Marty, could you give a quick scouting report on Daly?
Yeah, you're not going to go through him. I mean, he is stout. He is so stout, and he is strong. And he is a guy that we think has a ton of upside. And he's just he's good in the run game. I think that he does have good feet and is athletic enough to play in left tackle in this league. But he is stout and he is strong. He's got great play strength.
Looked like maybe the knock could improve his technique.
Yeah, I mean, and that's.
But the big thing is it's not like he hasn't played a lot of D1 football, and that's the biggest thing. So as he gets more and more exposure, he's going to improve. And that, again, like I said, that was one of the neat things about talking with Coach Matsko and Coach Wharton about him, was that they both felt that this guy just needed repetition. And, again, to your question, to your point, he does. There's some refining he has to do, but the ceiling, I think, is good for this young man as well.
Marty, you guys did a lot with the guys coming out of AAF. How active will you be with the undrafted market now?
We're active, but obviously don't need as many guys, so we're probably focusing in on 5 or 6 guys, more or less.
Marty, did the trade work out kind of like you hoped it would as far as what you were able to get after trading that?
Yeah, I wish it would have been a little easier, but it did. It really did. I mean, I think that was probably the key to the weekend, was being able to after getting Brian, trading up and being able to get Greg Little. I mean, he was a guy that, obviously we wanted to add a tackle, and we would prefer to have had somebody that played left tackle. And we come out of the weekend with 2 guys that have played left tackle, which is probably more than we could have wished for. But, yeah, I think that was probably the key to the weekend, to move up and get a guy that everybody thought had a chance to really, I mean, we think both these guys have a chance to come in and have long careers for us. But that trade up and getting Greg was huge, I think, for the weekend. I think Ron would agree.
You know, and I agree, I'll echo what Marty said earlier. You know, when you come out, two of the more important positions, you know, two guys on offensive line, two guys on the defense that can rush the passer, you feel pretty good about it. So I think it's a good start to what we wanted to do this offseason as far as the draft was concerned.
And these are all guys who have done it at a high level. I mean, I think I'm right, but I think 5 SEC guys, 1 Big 12, 1 ACC. I mean, so we've seen these guys do it on big stages, and they're used to, they're comfortable with being on the big stage, and I think that's a plus.
At edge rusher all along, though, or could it have gone either way, edge rusher?
Well, yeah, I mean, it really, the board depends who you take. But we came in and said, you know, and I think we said in our pre-draft press conference that coming this offseason, we wanted to address, you know, both sides, lines on both sides of the ball, pass rush and protecting the passer and rushing the passer. And I think we carried that theme through the draft.
Could you kind of give us an update, if you're able, on off-season workouts and kind of where some of your guys who ended the year injured are?
For the most part, we've got very good participation. Just real pleased with what we've got from my understanding. It's voluntary, and I really appreciate the guys, you know, making time to be out here and get themselves ready. From what I understand, you know, Cam has been doing everything we needed him to do. He's progressing very nicely. Again, I'm not going to give a timetable on that. Torrey looks good. He's running out there on the field right now, so that's good to hear. You know, the trainers feel he's getting stronger. We had a couple of guys that had some, you know, just some nicks and stuff like that. I believe Daryl's coming along very well. It really is exciting to watch him as he's going through his rehab program and getting himself ready to go. It's, you know, from what my understanding was, it's been a good 2 weeks. You know, the reports I get from the strength and conditioning and from the training staff have all been positive. You know, it's good to see everybody back. Monday will be the first time we get to work with them on the field as coaches. So I'm pretty excited about that. You know, we'll do our normal day. Defense will be on the field first, and then we'll flip it. Defense will go into meetings, and the offense will come out on the field afterwards.
Ron, Marty won't tell us, so I'm going to ask you. But was there? I remember we talked a little bit last year about Dante and kind of the tension as you're thinking, oh, maybe he doesn't fall. We need to maybe go get him. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And he turned out to be the guy that you wanted at the right time. Was there an interesting behind-the-scenes moment that really you will remember about this draft, maybe that you might be able to share with us?
I think it all involved with the owner, huh? It was his first one. He was there, and he was there for the whole thing. And you know, he asked a lot of great questions during the whole process, and it was fun. It was. It was an enjoyable one. It was. You know, Marty.
This was one of the more calmer ones, really. I mean, after, again, the trade up, the effort to trade up to get Greg was probably the tensest. Tense isn't the right word, but it was the most action revolved around that. And then really
There's something else with faith and trust.
Faith and trust, that's it. But then it was really kind of smooth. And again, that's what I said. I think that was the key to the whole weekend, is being able to, once we got Greg and we had Brian, and then everything just fell into place. And, you know, then I know we probably got, you guys didn't make you happy, but we've had to make that trade back from 6 to 7. But we just wanted to get 2 more players, and we got the 2 guys we wanted.
Hands-on was,
last one, and seriously last one.
how hands-on was Tepper?
Not
No, seriously, he was. He really
there
was.
watching.
The questions were right. I mean, he was engaged. He was seeing what was happening, and you know, and again, he's a numbers guy. I mean, he sees the numbers right away, and so we were answering the questions that would come up about the numbers.
Not at all. I mean, we did. He lets you do your job. It's great. But
Best
it's
part
great
was I didn't
having
have
him
to
there.
add anything. No numbers.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Except for the last part. I know.